Hi everyone, this is example 2, which I'm going to be talking about today in our series of videos about A1B. It seems that I had gone drastically over time with my first one, so I'm going to have to really cut it back and stick within this 15-minute window that I've got to do my screencast. So I'll try and be a bit quick, but that doesn't mean that you can't have a look at these examples in a bit more detail and have a good read of them and get some ideas to use in your own essay. So this one was quite good. I thought it was a better example of a very good essay compared to example number 1. So at the end of the last video, we talked about the fact that there wasn't too much evidence of critical thought and a comprehensive critique which was required to get up into the distinction and high distinction ranges. Whereas I think this one is a better example of that, and I'll talk about why as we go through quickly. So it was a good introduction. I'm not going to talk too much about all the introductions and all the features, just because I'm mindful of the time. But this one did have an introduction which weaved the ideas very well, and it doesn't sound like a list of what this idea and this idea listed one after the other. The student does just need to make sure that a towel is only used in subsequent second resource references. All authors need to be listed the first time. We then go on to explain 21st century learning within this paragraph here, and it's quite well written and well phrased, which ended up with this comment here. Now this sort of went on to do one of the things in the introduction that I said to try and just to be wary of, was listing out ideas. So again, something that student did in example number 1. So they had things like, 20th century can be drill-based, rote, memorization, factory style learning. And then the new one can be creativity, collaboration, critical thinking, and effective communication, personalized learning, promotes diversity, equity, and inclusivity. So again, we're reeling off a long list of things that it's not and things that it is, which is fine to do, but then make sure that you do break it down and perhaps talk a little bit about some of them in a bit more detail and make some connections to the classroom so that you are displaying your knowledge and showing that you do understand what's actually being written, because anyone can pretty much reel off a whole list of 21st century learning ideas, but someone who actually does understand the content is able to break them down and talk about why they're important and why something like collaboration is seen as an asset in the classroom. All right, so we've got some good comparisons going on. So we need to make sure that when you have a look at the rubric, it does talk about the word compare this time, which I don't think was strongly mentioned in A1A, but this time it is, so we need to be mindful of it. So this student has compared the two. And if you've done that already in A1A, then feel free to use some of the ideas again. We did have a clear explanation and definition, which is not so much clearly mentioned in the rubric, but it's good to have. It does just say that we're going to talk about factors. So this bit was all very clearly written. So we're having a look at the benefits and we're defining why globalization is the way it is and what are the benefits in terms of positives for education. And then this student hones in on the fact that, we have instant access to, that rapidly changing global network as mentioned here, and that connectivity could be argued to be the cause of accelerated pace in which globalization is taking place, which I thought was a good benefit to have. So then the student goes on to mention personalised and powerful experiences, particularly increasing class sizes to enhance student learning, which I thought probably needed a little bit of further explanation and probably further clarification or evidence about how increasing class sizes relates to the impact on student learning. That was probably like a big claim that was put out there, probably needs to be a little bit better substantiated. And then you talk about ICT in the classroom in terms of digital literacy. And we probably need a little bit of further clarification again about what the benefits of this, and give some examples of how ICT has actually improved learning in the classroom. You know, it could be something as easy as tacking on a sentence that talks about the fact that, you know, shared reading or tuning in for mathematics could be done on an interactive whiteboard. You know, just another sentence just gives you that connection to classroom, which is demonstrating that you got a high level understanding. So then we'd go on to talk about some of the other sides to, so this is the rest of globalization, where we talk about standardized testing. And again, I've made the comment here because the student claims that, you know, the cultural, socio-economic status of the student could be incomplete or misrepresented in terms of standardized testing. And I think an example probably of that needs to be explained as well, because that's a claim, you know, that standardized testing is culturally biased or biased towards people of lower socioeconomic status. Probably needs a bit of further clarification or further research there. Social change has been defined here. And then I thought that this probably needed to be a little bit more clearly written. So we talked about ICT, and I was just wondering whether that was going to become the third factor. She then goes on to look at inclusive education, which I thought was a good choice of a new pedagogy. So this time it's been really clearly stated about what the new practice is, and very clearly explained in terms of how that new pedagogy is impacting on classrooms and impacting on education. And then there's some good connections here to school connectedness and wellbeing, which when you look at the new FISO statements, particularly in Victoria, that's all about the student being at the centre. And then we've got a good conclusion here. So having a look at the reference list now, I'm not sure why it's got that funny colour. Something I was just questioning though is about the word count. It just seemed to be quite short. I don't know whether it is or isn't, because I haven't had a look at the word count list yet, but that was just something that I was just wondering. At the moment, it would probably be worth a distinction. I wasn't confident to give it a high distinction because when we'd have a look at the high distinction part of the rubric, we're looking at a high level of knowledge about the topic, which is a comprehensive critique is evident. It's probably almost there. There were probably just a few claims that needed a little bit of further support, and then it probably could have reached to that HD level. So overall, I'm going to give it a 78, which is a distinction.